Three. Hi, everyone. I am back here doing another Friends interview with Shim Perlman. Hi, Shim.
Hello.
How's it going? Welcome.
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for being here. Thanks for agreeing to this. I'd like to dive straight in, if you don't mind.
Sure. Let's do it.
So you are an amazing guitar player, not an understatement. And I just want to start by asking about that. How many years have you been playing?
So I started playing when I was, I think, 17 or 16. Yeah, that's how long I've been playing from, 16. I started when I was living in South Africa by my sister's house during high school. She had a guitar in the house that my brother-in-law owned.
You went to high school in South Africa?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I knew that, but I wasn't like, I never really grasped the fact that you lived in South Africa for some reason. It's just like,
yeah,
kind of,
it's a funny part of my life.
Yeah, it's interesting. But then it's like, you know, people who live here who knew you when you were living in South Africa. So that's another interesting situation.
Right.
Yeah.
It was kind of strange because, like, I didn't really know what was happening when it happened. I didn't really understand what it meant to just shift your entire life, like leave all your friends, your family, and just move into a new world halfway around. It was an interesting experience, and there were a lot of negatives and a lot of positives. It had it had its ups and downs.
Well, one of the positives is that you learned how to play guitar, so.
Right.
That's awesome.
Actually, my sister had lost her husband the year before I arrived.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was a great musician. His name was Gabriel Klatsko. And he...
Oh my gosh.
Do you know him?
Yeah, I know about that.
Right. So his brother is Ben Sion and his sister
is I do know about that. That is, wow, that's crazy. I'm so sorry.
And actually his sister Rivka Malka also married my brother.
Okay.
So there was two siblings married my two siblings.
Yeah.
So we're very connected with the
Very
classical.
interesting.
Yeah. But the classical family is very musical. So, and Gabriel was particularly musical, played all the instruments from strings to drums to blowing instruments, air instruments. So I picked up his guitar and I started writing songs. I wrote a few songs that I played back then for groups of people, friends and stuff in South Africa, and they really loved it. I only knew like 3 or 4 chords, but it's amazing what you can do with that many chords. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you learn any other instruments when you were living in South Africa? Like how to play any other instruments?
No, just guitar. I mean, they had like bongos and stuff, but he had a drum set too. But that was my first instrument was drums. So, but when I was 13, I took drum lessons and for a year or so, and then left it behind me. But I still play here and there.
Cool. Do you play? Yeah. So guitar is like your instrument that you play?
Yeah, guitar is my main instrument for sure. Like, I think it speaks for you, words you can't say. Every time you learn a new chord, it's like a new emotion that you're able to sort of express. Every chord has its own feeling, has its own personality.
Is that like your therapy, so to speak? Like when you're in a mood, do you just pick up a guitar, and does that make you feel better?
For sure. Either makes me feel better or it helps me feel worse.
Yeah, sometimes you feel worse. That's gonna get into my psychology questions later, so hold that thought.
Okay, I'm holding it.
Have you ever been in a band?
Not really, no. Maybe unofficially, I played one time. Me and a friend created a band. It was just a guitar and a drums. I actually played drums in that band. It was just us two, and we put on one concert, and that was it. But playing live has never been my like forte.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way, to be honest. I'm not a musician. I say this over and over again, especially to my musician friends. I'm not a musician, but um,
I beg
I,
to differ.
what?
I beg to differ.
Eh,
I've seen
sure.
you do the shakers. You're very good on
Yeah.
shakers.
I
But
mean, this
that's not a joke,
motion.
by
No,
the
I'm
way.
kidding. Like,
Come on.
no,
We're keeping this PG.
no, but I'm saying like I understand my limitations. I'm honestly more of a dancer, but like um I don't think it's something that I necessarily feel like I want to do on a grand, like I don't really want to put out an album. Like I don't have those types of hashtag goals. So I
I
mean,
think
you
you
have
have a
those.
great sense of rhythm, and that comes from probably from your dance. And you're very in tune with music. You sing you sing very well.
Aw.
So I think you have a lot of music in you.
This is about you, Shim, not about me. Thank you.
I'm just saying that. I wanted to
Thank
throw
you.
it in
Thank
there.
you. I know. Thank you. So do you. I love the way you play guitar.
Thanks.
Um, yeah, but I'm saying like I relate to the whole idea of not wanting to play, for people and stuff. That's what I was
Yeah.
kind of
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah.
I do
Uh,
want to play with people actually. But it's more like I think if I were to play in front of people, I'd really need to know my music like upside down. And the way I create music is like I get an inspiration and I just bang it out. But it's never perfect. And usually like I just kind of move on to the next song. I don't really perfect the songs. I do like them. I think that some of them have creative sides to them, but they're just not, they're not fully developed. And the only way I would play in front of a crowd would be to have the songs perfectly. And maybe I'm not inspired enough to do that, but I have written probably over 40 songs.
oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
But there's like, some of them are like 90%, and then they go down from there. None of them are really like complete.
But I feel like your perception of like 90% would be like 100% to like a lot of people, you know?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm not
Like
a
it's
crazy.
you're hard on yourself.
Maybe I'm hard on myself, but I would like to do it anyway. Even I should build up the courage to do it and play some of my music. I would love to play in Chevra someday.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. What inspires you to write a song?
Usually an interesting, maybe some sort of new concept that pops into my head, whether it be something about my personal life or something that I saw, something that something in someone else's life. Most of the time it's about relationships. I think a lot of music expresses the relationships, whether between me and a place, me and a person, me and God. But it revolves around the concepts of love, which is generally a lot of music is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So you write about God. That's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely write about God, and I sometimes borrow words from Tehillim or the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so but
Wow.
otherwise, it's my relationship with God.
Mm-hmm. That's
All
cool.
the concepts. Yeah.
So you're somewhat of a believer.
A believer? Yeah. I am somewhat of a believer. I don't have it down pat yet.
Your belief down pat, or you don't have
my belief.
down
I
pat?
struggle,
Mm-hmm.
but I am one to pray when I'm stuck. you know, so.
Well, there's no atheist in a foxhole.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm definitely not an atheist.
Right.
But I don't know, so it's hard to say.
Interesting. Okay.
I appreciate the way that Judaism taught me to communicate with God. I appreciate that very much. I had certain rabbis and certain teachers that showed me that it's okay to communicate in my own language. And that has become like force for me, because I can't always, I don't always connect to the prayers, you know, the morning prayer or the afternoon prayer, but I do connect to God on my own language. And, you know, that part I appreciate a lot, my connection to God.
Yeah. It's interesting because someone, I think it was probably my Rebbitzin, said that it's, or I don't know who it was, but it was somehow I got really connected to this idea that you can literally talk to God anytime, anywhere, like anytime, like a friend, like when you're alone, anywhere. Like
Yeah.
there's no real limits to like the communication that you can access God, so to speak, whenever you want. It's like unlimited Wi-Fi at all hours.
Yeah, unlimited Wi-Fi.
Yeah. It's so yeah.
Actually, my favorite place to talk to God is generally in the shower. I don't know how much he appreciates that, but I don't know. I feel like it's just and it's interesting because I've spoken about this to other people. That one of the things I do is mikvah. Mm-hmm. I go to the mikvah on Fridays, take a spiritual dip, and people are always like, "Oh, you're just going for the hot bath." I'm like, I mean, partially, but I don't know who wants to go to.
It's cold.
It's hot.
Oh.
It's warm water, but it's also like a cesspool filled with grossness.
So holy, I love it.
You come out with an extra long beard, and you get very holy when you come out. But the thing is, I connect to the concept of like being before God in your own rawness. There's nothing blocking you, you know? Mm-hmm. Without saying the word, what you are, you're really just nothing. There's nothing blocking you. You're simply, it's you, and you're fully surrounded by water. And that water is a very interesting, you know, to me, I connect a lot to water. But like, I feel very free in water. And also I feel a certain spirituality that I connect to in water. So the mikvah it means a lot to me. I mean, even though it's not a commandment or something like that, but I just enjoy it, and I feel free to speak my mind and pray for people. It's an interesting, weird thing that I do.
Very nice. No, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you ever write music about your passion for water?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
You know, it's a good idea. I'd have to like.
Maybe it's not. I don't know. Who says it's a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to. I think that it's not the water that I love. It's the water that is a conduit to other deeper things. Like water to me is a very spiritual element. Like it connects me to something deeper in myself. So I think I could write something about that. I should. I'm sure I've added in like things about flowing and concepts about like going into the depths and other things like that revolve around water. But it's not the water itself that's like so that I appreciate. It's more what water does to me. Where it brings me. Yeah.
Very cool. Wow. I love it. It's very, I feel like deep. I feel like it's a very deep thing to think about. Because I think it's actually very healing, like to be around like bodies of water, be around the ocean, be like by a river or like by a creek. It actually is like
Right.
I think there were like psychology studies that were done about how healing it really is. So
Oh, water is like
yeah.
really can heal the soul.
Mhm. Yeah. So switching gears to psychology, I know that you went to school for psychology, which is
Yep.
awesome. You're a LMH.
I went to school for social work.
Okay.
Yeah. Psychologists would get offended if they heard, you know, if I took that title from them. So I'm not a psychologist. I'm a social worker.
But I mean, it's kind of similar because I see a social worker and I view her as a therapist.
No, social workers can totally be therapists, 100%. It's just the training for social workers and psychologists are a bit different. Psychology it definitely has its longer years of school. You do more research,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's more in depth. Social work is more of a social aspect of social work. Only a small percentage of social workers are actual therapists. Most of them work in like social services, and they work with poor or people in need, or all kinds of disabilities. But they don't generally social workers don't work with one-on-one in counseling. It's only a percentage of. A lot of psychologists do counseling. That's their focus. Others focus on research and such, but yeah, social workers are generally more, they do more, like I said, social aspects to it,
Mm-hmm.
like programs for unfortunate situations and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually come from a family, where my mother was a social worker. So growing up and she was a therapist. So growing up, we had an office in the back of our kitchen.
Oh
That
wow.
was soundproof, sort of.
That was what proof?
Soundproof.
Soundproof. Okay.
Yeah, but we got to hear a lot. It was a lot of fun coming home from school and hearing people from my neighborhood's issues growing up.
Were they like crying or you actually heard them like venting?
I've heard a lot of weird stuff. Crying is a lot of times I've heard crying. And then I've heard arguments, yelling, screaming, just.
So this was in both your parents are therapists?
No. My father was working computers. He ran far away from therapy.
Right. And your mom was a therapist and she brought all these clients and they had fights in your basement.
Yeah, like
in your kitchen, whatever.
in my kitchen. Like I one time came home and there was like this blowout argument in the middle of a session. I was just trying to get food from the fridge, like tiptoeing. And suddenly she's like, I didn't ask you to take those stamps. And he's like, I don't need to ask you to take the stamps. And it was just like this massive brawl that started on the other side of the wall.
That's hilarious.
About stamps. And I was just like holding the fridge, like trying to get the milk so I can get my bowl of cereal, And I'm like,
that is hilarious. Yeah. Oh my God. Wow.
That was pretty, I mean, there were times where like I didn't want to be on the first floor at all, so I just go to the second floor because I just couldn't take it anymore. Yes, no. So the point is that a lot of my family went into counseling, becoming therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 3 brothers and a sister that are all therapists, and they do different work. Different communities.
Yeah. Do you have like an overarching philosophy about therapy or about social work or both?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you hear us still?
I'm here.
Okay. I think I don't work in therapy anymore. I stopped doing it about 4 or 5 years ago. professionally. I kind of, and the reason that I stopped is kind of the reason of my
overarching
philosophy.
Okay.
Is my overarching philosophy.
Okay.
Right. The philosophy I had is that the only way that really I believe that you could help somebody is in a natural state. Sorry about that.
No worries. Keep
Someone
going.
called me.
It's all good.
Actually, one of your interviewees.
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah. And to me, I felt very strongly that my counseling was not, as much as I wanted it to be natural, it's just, I don't feel it was natural. It's and I want to help people if I can, in real life, in a natural way. And that's what kind of like drove me away from counseling, because I could do much better work with someone who's a friend or someone who reaches out to me naturally. I feel like I could connect strongly. But with someone who's like just a client coming in, and also the clients that I was seeing were all mandated. So they had to see a therapist. So that already messes up with the whole counseling. And I just, I find much more for myself. I feel more natural being with someone out of therapy.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
It's not a very deep concept. It's just more of a personal, emotional concept, I'd say.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand.
Thanks.
What's your opinion about positive psychology? Do you know about that?
Tell me about it a little bit.
Oof. I should have probably researched this a little more, but I have. Okay, so positive psychology is the idea that everything is positive. It's very similar to Rabbi Nachman, the Breslov philosophy, is
Sure.
that everything is positive, and all the experiences that you have are extremely. You should do everything with joy, and it's a strong focus on happiness and joy. So where I'm coming from, I'm kind of a critic of that, because a lot of people are saying that you kind of don't recognize the other emotions that make up the human experience: anger, fear, or sadness. So people who are positive psychology people don't really if they recognize those emotions, they kind of it's kind of discouraged for people to feel those emotions. So kind of, but people who are really pro positive psychology say that that's a wrong stance, and that's not what positive psychology is about. But I just kind of wanted to hear what you had to say.
I wish I knew more about it.
Okay.
I can't really share like my opinion because I just don't know enough. But it's definitely an interesting concept. I mean, the goal in life is to be happy. How we get there is the question. That's why all these psychologists are trying to come up with new modalities. I don't know enough, so I wouldn't be able to comment so much. But it seems like it's focusing on the positive is some people like in school, like as a teacher, I taught for a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah, I taught little Hasidic kids for a year and a half, and it was all about like what approach to take. Do you come from a positive approach? Do you come from a more do you give stars every time you do something good and ignore the bad, or do you take that into consideration? I found that obviously, like most teachers would agree, there's a balance. You can't just let yourself get run over. So you do have to put your foot down at times, and other times you gotta do the positive. You have to do the positive. I think it's important to highlight the positive more than the negative, for sure. That's a good balance for students. But again, I don't have enough information. That's how I know focusing on one over the other. I think you need to you need a balance of it. Just to ignore the negativity off the bat doesn't sound like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what that would do or how that could help, but maybe it could. I don't know the theory very well.
Okay. Do you know what toxic positivity is?
No.
Toxic positivity usually.
You've done more reading than I have.
Yeah, I guess.
The only reading I did was in.
It affected me. It affected my life. This whole toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. Because of toxic positivity, my emotions were not legitimized. I was, told I was being too much, or I was wrong for feeling a certain way, and that's what. If I don't know about positive psychology, but I do know about toxic positivity more.
Yeah.
That it can really affect people, and it affected me. Usually, people, their emotions are like completely they're not heard. Their voices are silenced. So, I mean, do you think that's true?
In terms of that, I'm sorry, repeat your question. It's
like if someone is being told that like someone who was traumatized is being told, oh, it's not that bad, it's all in your head, or it's just get over it, like those types of sentiments, is that, I mean, how do you feel?
Yeah, I definitely brushing someone's emotions under a carpet and not letting them own their pain is not fair to that person, and could only lead to them expressing that pain in other ways, especially when someone's coming to speak to you. It's very, about something strongly emotional, and you're a parent or someone above that person. That person's in a very, very vulnerable space, and you have an important job at that point when that person is, and also just blaming someone for something that they did without really analyzing it with them and giving it, maybe talking to them about it in a kinder way would be beneficial. It's definitely not going to do anything just by expressing your own anger towards what that person did, because it doesn't work for you. That I'm not sure that that's going to bring on positive change in that person's life. I don't think it will. That person will just end up dismissing their own emotions later on in life, if you're talking about a kid, obviously. But even an adult, you have to watch how you talk to somebody as an adult. When someone comes to you with a problem, even if they're wrong and you could sense that they're wrong, there's a way to even relate to them that they're wrong, but in a kind way, through a positive way of speech. People, you don't just want to stuff it in that person's face, especially if they're close to you.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
That's why, like, when people bring up these psychology ideas, you're bringing up, like, I haven't done a ton of research. I read the books in school that I had to read. I didn't do much else. And the reason being, going back to what I said before, is like, I just trust my natural self when I talk to people. I try not to go out of the book, and I think I have intuition to know, like, I know when I'm wrong. I know when I did something wrong when I'm talking to someone. I could apologize for it. And also to know when someone's coming to me, how vulnerable they are. I don't read a book to know how vulnerable someone is. You just see it. So yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
No, that's great. I mean,
don't read books, children. No, it's good.
No, I mean, it's great that you do have like a very strong what's it called? Like intuitive, like intuition and perception. So that's great. It's definitely very helpful. Like if you're either a therapist or if you're just helping like an average person in your life out. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yes.
Very nice. Did anything in your life like influence that strong, like you being such a people person? Like how did that come about?
I mean, it's a good question. Um, I think I was kind of, in a way, I was trained in a
Mhm.
way growing up. We had a very open household. We had, my mother was a driving force in that. We opened the house to a lot of different people. I experienced all kinds of, I mean, mostly Jewish people, but people who are in a lot of different groups, from all over the world, different religious sects, even people who, different levels of, we've had people with, mental illness.
Hello? Hello? Oh, I lost you for a second. Uh, Sorry, we're back. So yeah, people with mental illness coming to your home, and that made you an empathetic person.
Yeah, I could say it definitely added, it gave me a picture of a worldwide picture that I think a lot of other people my age were not getting. And it definitely added to my empathy. It wasn't just mental illness. It was like, we've had all kinds of people just coming through our doors. And
Craziest thing besides the acorn, what was it? The acorn thing? Besides the
with,
fight that you witnessed, what
oh,
was
about the stamps.
the stamp? Sorry, I don't know why I said acorn. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen besides that?
Like, it with my mother's counseling in my
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
I can't say I've ever seen anything like super crazy, but I know as a kid, I mean, I saw a lot of, like, I don't remember anything offhand, like craziness wise, but I do know that, um, we had we had someone come over for a Shabbos meal once, who was a Hasidic man, but he began as a non-religious man, then had a sex change, became a female, and then went back to being a male,
Mm.
but decided to become Hasidic.
Hmm.
So he was a lot of fun.
Wow. I mean, I'm not laughing because it's funny, God forbid. I'm just laughing that it's like
Yeah.
very unusual. And I'm laughing that it's just like I can imagine the types of things that were said at the table. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
actually,
I honestly
no,
don't
no, no.
remember.
I'm being too judgmental. I'm sorry. No,
No, there's
not
no
fair.
judgment. It's I don't know if it's being judgmental. I think it is someone who went through a lot in their life, and it is very rare, the story that I'm saying, and it's something that's a little shocking. That's all. It wasn't like, I have nothing also against transgender, and I believe in their rights too, and everything like that. But this was a situation that's like obscure. It's out there. I just saw a lot of. Actually, was watching something yesterday about someone who was transgender who switched back to being a
Right.
man.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he talked about it through the trauma he went through with being overly pushed towards the feminine side, and then getting a gender change, and then reversing back. It was a very traumatic experience for him. But also, like, that's his experience. I'm not speaking for all transgender experiences, but the good thing about this world that we live in is that people have a lot of right to there's a lot of space and a lot of freedom to express yourself and be who you want to be. So I'm happy I live in that world.
Cool. Well, I'm happy you live in this world too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and for being here. I really, really appreciate you agreeing to this. And I want to give you a chance to say any final thoughts or words or anything that you might have, any practical advice, whatever you want to say.
Well, you're gonna post this?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I figured. So, first of all, I want to say thank you for picking me. I feel honored to be interviewed by you. You're such an awesome, loving, sweet person. And I'm very happy to have a friend like you. You're a light in my life, honestly.
Aww,
you're very special. And I loved playing guitar for you yesterday, and as you fell asleep. On my couch, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah. Pre-fast. What was it? Pre-fast.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say to the world where I live in that I don't mean, people. I'm a little bit of a complicated character, and people who know me know that. But really, in essence, if you're in my life or you were in my life, I always had a lot of love for you, and you cared a lot to me, and that's the only reason why you were in my life. And I just want to say that I love all those people, and past and present, and everyone should continue having an easy fast today.
Yes, thank you. Easy fast to everyone. Thank you so much, Shim. That was really beautiful. I couldn't that was like really, I love that sentiment. It was really like, it made me feel good inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should.
You're just a warm and fuzzy inside. I love it.
Yeah. All about the warm and fuzzies.
Thanks again, and
sure.
have an easy rest of the fast, and be in touch.
I will. See you.
See ya. Bye.